When a man has a hobby or a room or a job that has a hard boundary around it, where somebody else has to ask permission to interrupt it to get help, that's a power dynamic.
I'm the one who has the man cave in our house, or she shed, or whatever you want to call it. It's actually an office because I'm a writer, right? I work from home, but that's not why I have that room. First of all, I've been single most of my life, and I just intuitively knew that if I'm going to share a home with a man, because this is the first time I've ever shared a home, other than my abusive ex, who was literally houseless or whatever, and just is a parasite and literally just moves in with women. While I was on vacation, he moved in. Anyway, I have read, Virginia Woolf enough to know that any way a woman can feel liberated is to have her own space. Now, obviously, not everyone can afford that. And I don't even think that that's very common. It's not even that I didn't trust that my husband wouldn't respect my own need for privacy and boundaries and stuff. Of course he does. He's very good at respecting that. Part of it is also because I know myself. I know that unless I have a place to center myself, because patriarchy has taught me to not do that, to literally be codependent. I mean, I learned that in my family system, but I also learned that because patriarchy is literally all about, women taking care of men, taking care of children, taking care of everybody but themselves. But I knew without a room that I could shut the door, that I wouldn't be able to get the thermometer out of his butt. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be able to untether myself from him, or I didn't trust that I'd be able to, because I have it's so in me to be worried about. So I knew that if he was ever in a bad mood, if I didn't have my own place to go, that I would have a really hard time, disconnecting from that. So I'd argue that women need a man cave more than anybody, more than any men do, because we are literally taught not to center ourselves from the day we are born. And even though I was raised by a single mom, so my role model literally centered herself and her children. Well, she centered us more than herself. But my role model did not center men. But because I, was parentified, and because I also had, childhood SA and all kinds of whatever outside of my home that I literally grew up in, I still do it. I can't not center men. I can't not be on edge if there's a man in a bad mood around me. I have to do breathing exercises. I have to do so much to not get upset, because so much, it's all trauma responses, but this is all part of it. I don't know a single woman who has not dealt with a terrifying man at some point. Hopefully not in her home with a family member, but we have all dealt with coworkers or bosses, literally just men anywhere, strangers, who have reminded us of how terrifying men are. So on some level, we have all been groomed to just tiptoe around their rage, because at any minute they can snap. And Soberside did a great video on this. I'm going to tag her. But I would argue that if it's possible, every single home in a heterosexual couple, the woman should have her own space, because he's already going to take it. He is going to take it because he has been taught to take his own space and check out, And then he probably also has hobbies, right? And y'all know I've been talking a lot about hobbies and how men financially abuse women with their hobbies and exploit women with their hobbies, where they're literally gone all the time, because these hobbies are always very time consuming, very expensive, and involve hanging out with their bros and not including her at all. Unless maybe it's go climbing, in which she's his belay bitch, right? So everything, the whole world was built for them to center themselves. That's what they've been taught. So for me and in our couple, we constantly do things on purpose to shift that balance in my favor, because I'm so conditioned to still default to men. Even though I didn't date them for most of my adult life, even though I didn't grow up with one in my house, all it took was a few men in my childhood, one in particular, and patriarchy itself. I don't know how to unplug from them and their moods. I don't know how to, not without a lot of calming exercises. So yeah, if you can afford it, even if it means taking a closet and turning it into a little with Christmas lights or some crap, find a room that you can get away and lock a door. Because even if your partner isn't doing it to you, it might be in here. It might be in here and in here, and you can't. It's decades of trauma and grooming, conditioning. And that is not going to just go away without serious effort and intentional shifts of the power dynamic, because they will naturally balance out. Or if you don't have the space, then literally a hobby outside the home. I've talked about marathon runners. Those men are often some of the most selfish men on the planet. But when a woman does it, good for her, because it is literally the only chance that she gets away from the family. So if you don't have a literal space, a hobby outside the home, literally anything that gives you that hard boundary that men just take and feel entitled to and expect you to always respect. Do everything you can to center yourself, because patriarchy will always make sure you don't.